One. And we're live in the universe of masculine and feminine with the most incredible Allana Pratt. There she is. She has just been a true super fan supporter of what we're doing at Wonder and Wonder. We've only known each other a year, but she is the intimacy goddess that we reach out to. We ask questions. She asks courageous questions back to us, and she's number 6 and just been a massive part of me and Sarah's life. And probably today is probably a pivotal time because we had a pretty rough night, not knowing that when me and Sarah will actually see each other in the next 4 months with this travel ban. And intimacy needs to be talked about. It needs to be open. It doesn't need to be wrapped up. So Allana, welcome. I can't wait to chat for 30 minutes.
I'm so glad you invited me. Thank you. And I'm so sorry about this 4-month, ban. And part of life is the challenge and part of life is the support. And we suffer when we think that that's not reality. We suffer when we clamor for all that pleasure and we're like, pushing away all that pain. But if we can fucking be, can I swear on your thing? Sorry.
Yes, you can, 100%.
I just did. So we can absolutely be with it all, resist none of it. We can start to see the gift and roll our sleeves up and really, let's do the work. But if we're like, oh, bad ban, need to see obviously she's hot and fantastic and conscious. Of course you want to see her, but we'll suffer if we think there's something wrong here. Mm-hmm. And we'll grow if we're like, okay, so I might not care for this. I might not prefer this, but how is this for me? And it's a little bit of a feisty, badass kind of attitude. It's almost like you're sparring with a nice, what's this called? What do you do when you do this?
A
an arm wrestle. It's an arm wrestle. It's an arm wrestle with the universe. Yeah. Really? What you got? Kind of feisty because it's not going to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be easy, but it wouldn't be happening if you couldn't handle it, and that you won't be better on the other side of it if you embrace the lesson, if you embrace the arm wrestle. Does that make sense?
Oh no, 100%. And as we both moved from sort of chapter 1 to chapter 2, and chapter 1 was very comfortable, and there was not much uncomfortable. It was the perfect postcard. And as we've had this conversation and with many friends and events and experiences, is that you need to have some polarity between the pink and the blue, or to be able to evolve together. But it's being able to hold that space to have those conversations and your work and being able to hold this space and being the person in the middle to prompt those courageous questions for me and Sarah to have has just been so powerful, especially in this complex environment that we were already living in before we had the added complexity of forced measures in regards to put things aside from a physical aspect. So intimacy. Everyone thinks intimacy is just what happens in the bedroom, and me as a boy growing up, that's what intimacy was. We're not kind of taught it as men growing up. I think maybe women are taught a little bit differently. Intimacy is the whole complex thing. What do you kind of say to that around what we should really be taking notice, and what is the definition of intimacy in your work that you do?
Yeah, I like to think of intimacy as that raw, vulnerable, honest, real connection, making contact in a walls down, trying to look good, put that aside, attached to the outcome, let that go. This is really significant and important. No, let it go. And just this beingness and this is the key, with yourself first, so that you can have it with another. And contact with self first makes it easier not to be attached to the result, makes it easier not to fear rejection, makes it easier to be in the unknown, to let go of the outcome, this kind of thing. If we don't have this connection with ourselves, this intimacy with ourselves, we're 3 steps ahead, interrupting our partner, not even listening. We are very, very concerned if we did it right. Did we tweak this right? Are we saying it right? Are they turned on by me? Did they see my cellulite? All this stuff that comes up in our head. But if you've got contact with yourself first, this whole other reality can emerge. It's like there's one person, another person, and then there's the reality that emerges between them. But it's not possible unless you first have contact and deep intimacy with yourself. And so what's the presupposition of that? Like, how do you do that? Well, when I first started to look inside, I didn't think I was pretty enough or smart enough or just enough of any enoughness. And I would, the archetype of the prostitute, like I would prostitute my energy and pretzel myself into whatever position and say whatever I thought he wanted me to say. And my voice didn't count. I was just desperate for being chosen, desperate for attention. And of course that led to 2 divorces. So when I got back in touch with myself, the very first thing I had to learn how to do was love myself. And like, there's like, how do you do that? And to me, it's easy to love our parts that we're proud of, the things that have accomplished or we've achieved. It's very hard to love the parts of us we're ashamed of, the parts that are wobbly, the parts that have fallen down, the parts that don't know how to get back up again. But if we cannot try to fix those parts, if we cannot try to make them better so we look good, if we could just be with them, just like, hey, here's a beer, or here's a popsicle, or whatever, just like, no, here's another one, here's another part of me. And we just all sit there in the shit together, in the muck together, and we just breathe. Then these parts of ourselves are like, oh, I'm so used to you judging me, trying to fix me, reject me. Really, it's okay that I'm here? And then you start to get curious. Hey, how you doing? Wow, if that was me, I'd really feel that way too. Of course you miss not being able to see Sarah for 4 months. I get it. Hey, you sexual self, you really miss not being able to have sex for 4 months with her. Got it. And you just be with that part, not to put them in a good mood, not to find a solution, not to get rid of the bad mood or the sadness or the fear, but just, it's like sitting in a swamp of caca. You just sit there and you be together. And something magical occurs when you stop resisting, because what you resist persists. It's just science. And what you allow, which doesn't mean I like it, but if you can start to allow it, this literal scientific shifting, like an alchemy of vibration, it starts to rise. And the experience of the self is that, okay, I got this. Okay, I got this. We, and this one, will make it. And then when you speak to another from this place of intimacy with self, your home, you can just be like, hi. And you can have such extraordinary contact. And here's the thing that's going to be really fun for the two of you. We could call this, like, they talk about this a lot in tantric teaching and breath work and sacred sexuality, that if you can't find your inner lover, there's no way you can awaken the inner lover of the other. So you can use this time for both of you to get really connected with your own inner lover, your own energy. You can start making love with the universe. You can just, all this energy that's all around you that we don't tap into when we're just cognitively spinning a million miles a second. It's in our bodies. It's like, maybe this sounds weird, but I don't get lonely anymore. I'm alone. Yeah. I'm alone, but I can't remember the last time I was lonely. I mean, it was a good 15, 20 years ago once I started doing all this work, because I'm making love to the universe all the time.
Yeah. And we just had this conversation the other day. So loneliness and isolation, and just like the amount of wisdom that's getting dropped right now. Thank you so much, both from me and Sarah's hearts and souls, about this next 4 months. But I think to people that will watch this now live and watch it down the track, is that everyone can take something home in regards to this, is that being in love with self. And it's something I still battle with every day, is in regards to maybe being an only child, or not having as many friends as my other friends growing up, is that you go into this whole comparison, judgment, not enough. And you're constantly reminding me, whether it's personal conversation or through your amazing content, is that is truly the most important thing before we do any outside work. And I think right now, I'm grateful for this moment and its capacity, that it gets people to stop, and it gets me to stop, to be able to do and ask those questions of, like, what part am I playing in this right now, and what lessons can be learned. And it's forcing us as humanity to stop and potentially do this work. Is that right? In regards to diving deep, and so many people on this planet, including myself, because we have social media and distractions, that we find it so hard to love ourselves and maybe looking back on chapter 1 is that, yeah, how can you love someone else if you don't even know what love is to yourself? And I think that was a massive, massive wake-up call for me. So I'm really grateful for that. And as you said, you've both got to do work at the same time as well. So we were talking about transparency and work, but also transparency in life and intimacy as well. How do we become or embrace transparency in ourselves and transparency to others? So the whole vulnerability piece. How do you even start that process? How do you embrace it? Yeah.
Well, the first thing is you don't have to like it. You don't have to start with like, I'm just going to unconditionally love my really, really spazzy, dorky, shameful self. Like it's 0 to 60. It's too fast. You just start with allowance, and you start with curiosity, and you start with compassion and empathy that part of you has every right to feel terrified, ashamed, pissed off, wanting to kill somebody, wanting to be like saved. Like I was such a damsel in distress, right? I just wanted to be saved. So when I look upon through the eyes of compassion, and I put myself in the old me's shoes, then there's none of this comparison I need to be changing. It's like, oh, hi, I get it. So for example, today I'm doing this 14-day succulent self-quarantine solutions for my community. And so last night I drank way too much scotch. And I had dinner with somebody, and they got me New Zealand salmon, Steve. Mm-hmm. They cooked, yeah, because I was sad that I wasn't going to be in New Zealand now. And then he goes, "What's your favorite scotch?" So I told him, and I think we finished like 3/4 of the bottle. Like it was bad, but it was really fun at the time. And I woke up this morning and I got to do this call, and every day I sing to them. I sing some song and I changed the words into the quarantine and funny thing and the rest of it. And I was really hurting this morning. So I thought, you know what, instead of just trying to be the inspiration, instead of trying to show them the light, I'm just like, okay, so we're going to talk vulnerable about what are you being humbled by? What shadow is arising during this quarantine time that normally you can keep the wraps on, but when the stress is there, oh yeah, because I sang them under pressure, dun, 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 dun. I did my best of like Bowie and Freddie Mercury this morning. So pressure, how is the pressure bringing out your shadow? And I said, you know what, I'm drinking too much. I'm drinking too much. And others were like, I'm cleaning crazy, or I'm messy as shit, or those cheese puffs are just tasting so good. I've eaten a lot of them, or like all of our different shadows that are coming out, or cranky, or we're a control freak. And we just voiced them. We voiced them. There was probably, 14 or so people in the call. And I said, this is a space of non-judgment and unconditional love of every fucking aspect of you. And I went first. And they all went through and they shared their shadow. And at the end, I was like, so how do you feel? And they're all like, great. And I go, didn't you think, or doesn't your ego want you to think that as soon as you admit that, like a bolt of lightning is going to hit you and everyone's going to unfriend you on Facebook and you're going to be alone in a ditch and die? Isn't that what the ego wants you to think? But actually, when you can be real and shine a light on the shadow and not disconnect and make contact with it, keep contact, keep heart open, compassion, empathy, it begins to shift. That's the grace, that's science, that's the magic when you begin to allow. And then I said, okay, so now how is this pressure turning you into a diamond? And not from, well, I'm spending more time, like not all that fakey fake shit, strengths. No, let's start in the shit and now talk about strengths. It's a different flavor. It's like a rich resilience flavor. It's not to look good. It's not for the outcome. It's like, wow, actually, I really am loving that this is showing me I don't have my priorities straight. I'm not actually making time to deeply connect with my kids. Actually, the drinking's always been a bit of an issue. I think I really need to have a look at that. Or this obsession, this control freak obsession showing me that I actually don't trust that the universe has my back. It's time for me to do more spiritual work. Like the truths that came out to me, that is one way to begin this journey of intimacy with yourself, is to call one on yourself, and in a tribe, if you can, of safety and non-judgment, even better, or just with your beloved or your best friend. And with the seeking of zero solutions, Zero fixing, just sharing, just being heard, just being understood. Shoulders drop, hearts open, creative intelligence, intuition, all these things come online when we don't need to change it. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. And yeah, that's such a powerful question to, what am I being humbled by right now? And as you're talking, I was kind of thinking, what am I being humbled by right now? And it's, it's definitely humbled by, I don't know if it's humbled, but missing a family unit right now, and being isolated and lonely. But as you said, like the deep work that we're all doing to understand I'm not lonely anymore. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's isolation and going, I'm missing a family unit right now. It's, and not knowing that the family unit will never be the same as it was, because there's added complexities to what the new chapter looks like. But that's okay. And as you said, like, it's being able to give yourself permission to be okay, because it is full and it is rich and it is powerful, and it's a constant evolution. Otherwise, we dissolve, right? So
well, we just become like robots or sheep or whatever. Whenever I experience, like, let's say we'll just use the example of loneliness, okay? In the past, when I would experience loneliness and I looked for the benefits of that and the advantages or the gifts of this loneliness, it showed me that on the one hand, I had to learn how to love myself. I was seeking way too much of my worth outside in, way too much of my safety outside in, way too much of my, am I good enough, outside in. And I was lonely for myself. That's who I was lonely for. That's the real truth. And my mom is in heaven and my dad doesn't care for me, and my sister and I don't really get along terribly well. So like the family unit, my son lives with his father. So I could really instantly go into poor me, victim, martyr, where's my family? And so the gift of that is, okay, where can I make family ties with all these aspects of myself? The one who feels betrayed, the one who feels humiliated, the one who feels unfair, all these, like, there's my motley crew, there's my family all inside me. And I can come home to all those parts and create communion, understanding, compassion, oneness with myself on the inside. And then we're back to choice. I can create family with whoever I want. I can adopt a mom. I can adopt a dad. I can adopt a sister. I'm in charge. I'm not a victim of my circumstances. But my experience is, if we don't first go, oh, this thing I'm experiencing that I'm blaming out there, if I don't first go, oh, how's that happening on the inside? Then it's just like a good attitude and sprinkles and fake, and it's not sustainable, and people smell it. So I just think this is an amazing opportunity for you guys to have some fun with Zoom sex, some fun with like vibrating underwear with little things on your phone. Like, you can totally have fun, but also deepen it as well to have fun with like energetic circles of energy that you run through your bodies with each other on Zoom, and even play around with telepathy, or like, okay, so let's not talk, and I'm going to do something, and then tapping into your intuition and seeing if you could feel each other. And just being open to being penetrated by each of your love for each other, not requiring talking or seeing each other, just in the moment right now. Like, just try it. Close your heart to Sarah. Open your heart to Sarah. Close your heart to Sarah. Open your heart to Sarah. What did you notice?
Yeah, it's like you can feel your lungs breathing, but it's your heart. Like, it's, yeah.
And you can feel alone, or you can feel penetrated, your heart just blasted with her love.
Yeah.
It's actually real.
That was very, very powerful, is because, the love, and it can stem back all the way to childhood. It's like, well, I don't actually know what love feels like. But when you start it's not about feeling loved by the outside in, and that's what I always thought. So in this whole new chapter, it's like projecting love, and like the love sits here, and understanding that feeling here before receiving it in. And until I did that work and peel back the onion layers, and frick, it was uncomfortable, painful, aches and everything. But we have to go through discomfort for growth, don't we? Like there's no two ways about it. Like pain, trauma is why we evolve so much when we've gone through trauma, whether it's cancer, divorce. There seems to be a wake-up moment. But how do we how might we as humanity not have to go through trauma, not having the universe, this coronavirus, getting us to wake up? How can we spark the conversations with inside and with outside to evolve without trauma? That is the magic question, is like, how might we give ourselves permission? Maybe this is the catalyst to what's around the corner. I don't know.
I don't think there's any escape from trauma, pain, discomfort, frustration. I think that's part of the fabric of the universe. I don't think it's possible. I mean, there's so many gifts in discomfort, so many gifts of resilience and fortitude and strength and grit and gratitude and compassion and empathy that doesn't come from eating Haagen-Dazs. It doesn't. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. It doesn't come with like jacking off or orgasming. It just doesn't. And those are great, fun, awesome things. Yeah. And there's a misconception that pleasure's all we want and we just need to be happy all the time. No, happy's awesome. Pleasure is awesome. But too much happy, you forget to pay your taxes. Too much pleasure, you forget to pick up the kids. Too much of a quote unquote good thing. Too much money, you stop appreciating it. You stop being generous, right? Yeah. So like too much pleasure is not good, and pain is not all bad.
Yeah, as you said, it's the what is it? These things.
Yeah, I know. I always use my hands when I talk, but this is the thing. Like, I don't think there's anything. Well, my point of view is that there's nothing wrong with trauma, and trauma doesn't mean like horrendous things. Trauma is just an experience that was too big to process. Yeah. Give me one kid that can process all of this. None of us could. So we all have this stored shit that we didn't know how to process. And we push it down, run away, try to be fake, try to look good, try to achieve all, and then we're just like, okay, none of that's working. Fine, fuck, I'll feel my feelings. I'll grow up. I'll come enlightened, fine. Right?
Yeah. And
life.
In general, so the willing and the wise, Wonder and Wonder is all about bringing the willing and the wise together. And obviously I have a massive passion project and legacy, destiny, whatever you want to call it, around young people. Obviously my first company or experience in the business world was 25,000 18-year-olds coming away, and intimacy for them, 100%. Well, I was 21 at the time. Sex, more sex. And that's it.
It makes sense, yeah.
So being able to open up, so there's 3 sort of areas around, or maybe 4 areas that maybe you could talk us through, is that 15 to 18-year-olds, intimacy. How do we open the door around intimacy? And then as we get older, there's 2 things. We're either in a relationship and intimacy goes like this, generally, kids, and then it's like this, all aspects of it, sex, communication, understanding, growth, evolve. And then the other side, parents, they're so ingrained in their ways that intimacy tends to just disappear. How might we just have an overall question, process, methodology around changing the way we talk around intimacy, young, different, solo, the elderly?
Wow, so many great questions. So my son is 17, and ever since he was very little, I've told him his penis is beautiful and pleasure is beautiful. And it's easier for us to fit into society if you just don't play with your penis at the dinner table with other guests. But it doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're bad. It just means other people aren't quite as open and loving of their bodies as we are. So I would just say, hey, if you want to do that, you can do it in your room. but never shaming him about his body and pleasure. This next thing, as he got older, it was, I remember when I started to find all these like crunchy socks under his bed. And I said, hey, sweetness, could you please put those in the laundry for me? And he's like, had a moment of embarrassment. And he goes, but there's nothing wrong. You're enjoying your beautiful body. And he's like, wow, Mom. And then all of a sudden I noticed all my cream, like leaving my bathroom, like it was all gone. And then I said, hey, dude, you're taking all my cream. I go, what's up with that? And he goes, can you get me some more at the grocery store next time you go? I go, absolutely. What's your favorite? So we have this really beautiful relationship. So now when I see him, I go, great. So do you have enough condoms? Because look, you get AIDS, you die. That's the end of it, okay? You get an STD, you're not gonna feel very happy. You get a girl pregnant when you're young, not gonna be a fun life for you. So we use condoms absolutely 100% of the time, all the time. Deal? He's like, deal. I go, great. So do we need to go to the store and get you some? He goes, yeah. So we just have this openness that sex is beautiful, bodies are beautiful, pleasure is beautiful. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We talk about all this kind of stuff. I remember when he sat on my lap and we read like in grade 4, grade 5, the book about sex and all the body parts and all the rest of it. And we giggle and such. And then now I ask him for relationship advice. It's sort of a bit of a strategy so that he'll open up with me as well. But he has a lot of wisdom. He goes, Mom, the energy of that guy, couldn't you tell? And I'm like, oh, what do you see that I don't see? So I'm honoring his intuition. I'm honoring his awareness. And I remember the first time he kissed a girl behind the whatever. He was summer camp. He came home and he goes, Mom, do you know what spin the bottle is? And I said, I think so. Tell me. And he's like, I kissed a girl. 5 of them. And I go, what? 5 girls? What did you do? And he goes, and I go, who was your favorite? Rather than judgment, why did you do that? You couldn't get in trouble, like blah, blah, like all the judge didn't do any of that. I go, so who was your favorite? Angela. I go, why? Mom, she was so present. I'm like, oh my God, this is the intimacy coach's son or whatever, right? And I go, well, what was so great about that? He goes, all time went away. She didn't try to do it right. I wasn't in my head. It was just like this beautiful kiss. And I'm like, awesome. So if you practice these intimacy, which is raw, vulnerable, be real. So my son knows me. If I'm scared, I tell him I'm scared. If I mess up, I clean it up. I apologize. And I don't just say sorry and then do it again. I say, I'm sorry. I clean up the mess. I grow. So I don't do it again. So he respects me and he trusts me. So it's not like I'm perfect, but this intimate way of being authentic with things, you can then bring sexuality into the conversation. And the last time, I haven't spoken to him for a couple of weeks now, but the last time I spoke with him, he's like, Mom, I'm just going to take a break because, I could get the virus if I go around kissing a bunch of girls right now. So I think I'm just going to take a break. And I go, yeah, you can make love with the universe. You can literally be masturbating and imagine the most beautiful divine goddess ever and have the whole feminine energy of the universe fuck you open or whatever. He's like, oh, Mom, stop it. I go, yeah, but try it. He goes, okay. So we talk. That there's no shame and it's beautiful.
So that's a mother-son relationship, and again, so much. We have 5 kids between us now, so hey, it's still very early days, but just being able to bring that in and just that conversational context around trust and no shaming, no comparison is powerful parenting, no matter what the topic. And then so people that are solo right now and don't have a partner, that can't, or maybe they don't have friends that they can have this intimacy conversation with, and especially if you're solo for a long time, what's your advice there around? And then people get worried that when they go back into a relationship, I'm just speaking from maybe what happens is that they're like, wow, I haven't been intimate for so long, I'm just lost. What's your advice there for people that are solo right now?
Definitely self-pleasure. Definitely, slow down. And when you put cream on your body, like let yourself have pleasure. Let yourself fantasize. I think sometimes the scientific proof when we do like porn and the way it affects our bodies or our brains or our capacity to have an orgasm or to not be able to ejaculate. There's all these different issues that come up when we use too much porn. So not that I'm against porn or anything, but let's if it's around shame and you're addicted to it, then I would ask you to consider that. But self-pleasure, and do pleasurable things, and whatever makes you feel cozy, safe, and yummy. Don't wait for a partner to have any of these experiences with yourself. Read beautiful books about sacred eroticism and tantra, and go out in nature, and don't just go, oh, lovely tree, lovely view. Like, no, let nature fuck you open with beauty and let energy touch you. And I start my day saying, okay, universe, have your way with me. How do you want to use me for humanity today? Not like a cognitive analysis, but like a breath and an energy. Like, I stay in my body and I let life be pleasurable. And I do my best to slow down and let all the little things be pleasurable. Like, if you looked at my desk right now, I've got little candles, I've got little coffee.
I think intimacy in nature is superpower. Like that, the loneliness or isolated thing, like of distance. That's how I get through it, is by getting out to the beach, and you'll see my photos is that. But slowing down and not running through nature, and being able to see the little shell that you probably ran over, or saying hello to the bird. And like, you're so right, intimacy is everywhere. It's
let yourself be moved.
Yeah.
Let yourself feel pleasure in all these different ways. And sexual energy isn't just bow chicka bow bow. Sexual energy is caring, tender, healing energy. It's creative. Oh, I think I'll do a podcast. Or I think I'll write a book. Or I think I'll make this for dinner. It's also very fierce. Like, I'm having this. That's what I'm having. It's like it's an energy that comes through us. And of course, it's erotic and kinky and wild and amazing. It's like all these energies. So just don't turn it off. Don't turn it off. And where does it occur? As we just analyze stuff? No, it occurs in the body. So breathe and let yourself have these energies come through, so that when you get out there dating again, it's not like weird. Like, you're already open, giving, receiving.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
I love that. And then the last two is being in a relationship for a long time. There might be sex, there might not be, from that intimacy side. But how do you ignite or plant seeds or start to evolve versus looking outside? The whole intimacy thing. What's the simple thing, especially right now with lockdown in New Zealand, partners and wives and are spending more time with each other, but forced, i.e. 24 hours a day. I know in China, I think divorce rates went up astronomically over this time, because Chinese businessmen and women haven't spent so much time. So now is a perfect time to be able to have a catalyst.
Yeah, I think when we are in our mind and not in our bodies, we're in conclusion. Oh, I already know what they like. I already know who they are. We just check out. We are totally living with the conclusion of the ego in the mind. But if you would go into the present moment and be more feeling and more in your heart, and ask more questions and allow yourself to be curious about your partner. I don't know about you, but I've grown and changed in the last 10 years, 20 years. So is your partner. So ask those same questions, like, tell me a way you like to be loved. Show me a way you like to be touched. Tell me what turns you on. Tell me what you're deathly afraid of. Tell me what makes you want to puke. Tell me what absolutely makes you orgasmic. Tell me what you love about the way I look at you. There's all these different questions you could start to get curious about. Like, you think you know, but you knew 10 years ago. You don't know today. It's changed. So that would be ways to start conversationally and with touch and with communication, and show me that, I don't know how many couples feel comfortable masturbating in front of their partner. How else are you going to learn what works unless you have a look, right? Show them all of these kinds of deeper, more brave ways of being together. How wonderful that you are stuck together. So you could explore these type of things. Tell me something that you're still holding a grudge about. Are you willing to let that go? There's the toilet. Take a shit. Come back when you're done. I don't know, or symbolically put it down the toilet, right? But this is going to come up. What's in the way of intimacy is going to come up. What's the gift in that? What's the lesson in that? Let me integrate that. Let me take responsibility for that. Let me forgive.
And that's what we just need to amplify. My Sarah's last mission for my mum and dad, and they're going to crack up because it's now live, is like they've been married for 30, 40 years maybe now coming up, and being able to re-spark that, and you kind of hit it on the head, is that there's so much backstory and baggage that is being held on to. Imagine if we could just wake up tomorrow and start fresh, and as you said, take a shit, flush it down the toilet. So probably, I said, just amplify it for all the oldies and the silver nomads out there. You guys have time, so amplify it.
Like, what are you literally getting out of holding a grudge? You get to be right. You get to not risk being vulnerable again. You get to stay disconnected and not risk jumping into the unknown. You're getting a payoff. Own it, and then let it go.
And on that, that's what Wonder and Wander's all about, curiosity. And who knows, there's wonder on the other side. So, Allana, where can people find out more work? Obviously going to post some links to your website and your YouTube channel, but what's the best way to follow you?
Yeah, on my site, allanapratt.com, there's a wonderful intimacy blind spot assessment there. That would be great, because we think we know why our relationship isn't working or why we're single or what have you, but maybe there's something deeper. In my experience, there always is. If you could have figured it out, you would have, because most people are quite intelligent. So if you can't figure it out, be humble, be brave, take the quiz. And then the YouTube channel and Intimate Conversations, my podcast. There's just lots of wonderful resources out there for people to enjoy.
You are a superstar, and just so grateful to be an intimate part in our conversation and our relationship, and made us feel comfortable talking about intimacy. And that was the biggest learning, is to be comfortable, sit with it, have courageous conversations. And there is going to be discomfort, but
that's
we
okay.
can all grow, we can all evolve. So thank you so much.
Thank you.